there that there's somebody in the waiting room, let me know. Okay. First of all, welcome to all of you, and we'll open with a prayer, and then we'll just go into some preliminary stuff so everybody knows what's going on. And just a little bit of introduction here. What Just Faith says is that this will be a challenging program, and we will hear painful stories, learn uncomfortable truths. Like I said, I've had exposure to that already, and worked on the reservation. But we can expect to find hope and even joy as we explore ways to work for justice and repair. So thank you for joining us. The first phase of this program, which includes the first 3 sessions, is called The Places We Call Home. Today we'll begin with an opening meditation around this theme. Then we'll take some time to get to know one another, establish our group guidelines, and then close with prayer. Take a moment to silence yourself. Take a deep breath. Close the door. Thanks. The word home holds different connotations for different people. Some connect this word with warmth, family, and safety. Others have more complicated associations. For the purpose of today, let's imagine home in a slightly different way. Starting with your earliest memories, think chronologically through the places you've lived over the course of your life, even if only for a short time. Where is a physical location where you felt grounded, safe, and authentically yourself? In your mind's eye, imagine you are standing in this place that feels like home to you. What do you see? What do you hear? Are there particular smells you associate with this place? Are there people or animals around you? Or are you by yourself? In Psalm 90, we hear, Lord, you have been our dwelling place throughout all generations. Before the mountains were born, or you brought forth the whole world, from everlasting to everlasting, you are God. I'm supposed to light a candle at this point. I just realized I forgot to bring it. Love abounds, we believe. From the beginning of time, the beginning of all things, all is infused with love, with boundless welcome, rejoicing, acceptance, and belonging. All things proclaim, this is your home. God's gift of creation is the gift of home. It is good. It is very good. Every moment of life is love waiting for a chance to fill the rooms of our home. This love, this home is made real, tangible, alive in 1,000 ordinary ways. Smiles, invitations, affirmations, encouragement. It is made real with enough food, enough warmth, enough care, enough laughing. It is made real with holding hands, hugs, dancing, and kisses. It is made real with hospitality, sharing, forgiveness, and respect. Love is made real in the connections, the intersections, the encounters of shared joy and shared grief and shared dishwashing and shared space. Shared. There's the secret. Home is always a sharing. So welcome home, friend, to this moment in time. It is the only moment we can be in. The past is a memory. The future is a dream. Now is our home. Welcome home to this space in the world. Welcome to the small gathering of bodies gifted with light. Grace abounds here. Here is our home, but for a while. Welcome. Welcome, we say. Welcome, God says. Welcome. Amen. Amen. So with that opening meditation, it's spend a little bit of time getting to know each other a little bit better and what it is that draws you to wanting to take part in this land is not our own, seeking repair alongside Indigenous communities. We'll take a few moments to think about that, and then we'll go around the table and do your introduction. Deacon Randy Bauer, and the reason I am participating in this is we had gotten notice at the parish last year from Catholic Community Foundation, and each year they offer grants to parishes for a different theme. Been fortunate for the last 3 years to qualify for those. We got one that was for the technology part of liturgy, so a lot of what we have done in technology, the listening devices, and some other things in the worship space came through that grant. 2 years ago, we got a grant for starting a youth or children faith formation program called
Good Shepherd.
yeah, Good Shepherd. Should remember that. That's the theme of my homily today. Which Amanda has been working on getting that set up, and her and Aaron Studeman have been going through some extensive training for that, and that'll be kicked off in the fall when we have our education wing finished. But last year it was social justice. So we went to the Social Justice Committee and asked them if there was something that they thought we could apply for. And I get regular updates from Just Faith. I got involved with them when I was at St. Joseph Worker, administrator, business administrator, and a couple other people that are on social justice also had some connections with them. So we looked on their site, and as we've been talking about starting one of their programs, and this one on Indigenous communities jumped out at a few of us. One of our social justice committee members works with one of the Native American programs in the metro area. I spent 34 years close to the White Earth Reservation, the first 12 of those years actually working with an employment and training program that covered a good portion of the reservation. So I had a lot of connection there with various services. And since we started our sister parish relationship with St. Mary's Mission in Red Lake, been to Red Lake several times. In fact, been to Red Lake prior to that when we were living up in Berkson Diocese. So that one really jumped out at me and a couple other people. So we applied for and were able to get the grant. So that's covering all of the expenses related to this program. So that's who I am and why I'm here.
Okay. Well, I'm Mike McNeil. I saw it in the bulletin, Indigenous small communities or something to that effect at all. And so I'm currently retired from lay ecclesial ministry, and in my retirement years, I'm kind of doing things that I like doing, which is my jail ministry. And then because of my connections, I was a missionary at Red Lake in the early aughts, 2005, I think it was, to 2008. And so, just like most Catholic missionaries, fell into it. And so lived on the reservation for 3 years, and I was the pastoral care person. And so I would bring communion to the elders in the homes. And it was very, very powerful experience. And because of my connections at Red Lake with a lot of the elders, I still maintain that. And so from that snowballed. And about 3 years ago, I went to the Catholic National Tech-Witha Conference, which was here in Minneapolis. And so I've been involved with that conference for about 3 years. And then with those connections, I'm involved, I'm in contact with different people nationally, with different dioceses that have offices of Indian ministry. And there's I'm involved in a small group that meets about monthly about American Indian spirituality, Catholicism, and on top of that. And so with those connections, so that when I heard it was American Indian, small communities, that, it's so important. We have one parish in the Archdiocese that's devoted to American Indian spirituality, essentially. And I certainly can see a need for more, that every community needs something to contribute to the body of Christ. It's kind of that goal. But so I thought, oh, this is very interesting to see. Well, having it up here, not in Minneapolis specifically. So I've been going yeah, just been involved. I've been, in the last 2 years in the fall, I've been going up to Red Lake, again, to visit the jail. I'm doing Bible studies at the jail. It's always an adventure. We're all friends until we're not.
Wow. So I'm Mary Jo Loftus. I've been up to Red Lake for a number of years and worked with the youth with art. So that was really a wonderful experience for me to be with them and learn from them. I'm a healing touch practitioner, so it's a group of us that get together once a year, and we call ourselves medicine women. So even when I was up at Red Lake, I would go over to the care facility and work with some of the people over there with my energy work, because to me that's natural to them, and I went to learn. Because in this group that we work, we do drumming, we do feathers, we do beads. I mean, so there's really some peace there. And as I showed you in my drum, there is somehow in my past I have been connected with the Native Americans, and so this appeals to me because I learned so much from them. I'm still in touch with some of the people, from Red Lake, actually Sue, who's now retiring. So I've kept up that connection. And it feeds me. So whatever I can do, I went to the Tekakwitha conference also. And part of my history is too, my aunt was a Franciscan sister who worked at St. Labourai's in Montana. So there's, we've always had some kind of Native American connection in my family. So I thought, well, we'll just carry this forward. So I'm looking forward to learning more and how I can learn and then maybe pass that on, to somebody else. So that's who I am.
Janet Bowen. I am here strictly for the education. I've not had a lot of experience with the Native Americans that have been positive. And I know that they're out there,
Mhm.
So that's why I'm here, just to see how I can connect and maybe make a difference.
I'm John Gambino. And for years, I've had just an interest in learning more about Native American spirituality in the communities. And when I saw the little thing in the bulletin, I'm like, oh, I really want to do this. And then it just kind of fell off. So it's been this calling, this quiet voice that has just kept bringing me that food, those questions, and just wanting to seek out and learn more. I've learned originally from the Chicagoland area, so coming to Minnesota, many more encounters with those who have a Native American background. But the spirituality piece has always fascinated me. It's very, can't explain it. I'm just going to leave it at that. But the fact that I'm even here this morning, it's just, I'm like, somehow I was just guided here. I
Mystic.
not just, it wasn't even on my calendar, but somehow it just, I found it in the bulletin a couple times, and I'm like, I'm doing this, I'm just going. Kate, my wife, also finds, she's also very interested, but she's doing the First Communion retreat this morning. So she's there. So she might, and honestly, I didn't even let anybody know that I was telling Randy. So I'm like, that was just, I'm here. So yeah, I don't, anything more than that, I don't know. It was just the spirit.
That's very much part of Native American spirituality. The spirit moves you.
Yep.
I'm Kelly Coombe, and I also saw it in the bulletin, and I'm a teacher, and I work with, I teach ESL, so I work with students from lots of different backgrounds, and we have in the past had students in ESL in my school, so that's been interesting good that the language is still being carried on. But yeah, I just want to learn more. I saw it in the bulletin, and that's something I want to learn more about the Indigenous people and how to learn from them and caring for the land and like caring for people and just their outlook on life. So I want to learn more and be able to share it with others.
Mary?
You're on, Mary.
Yeah, well, I want to start by saying that I hide things, and I hide things intentionally because I don't really I don't want to divulge everything about my life. But I want to say this morning that I was actually married to a Native American, and I have my first two children, two little girls, were from that marriage, and they're Native. And Terry ended up adopting them after we were married. But my middle daughter always had a lot of struggles because she looks very Native, and Terry and I really haven't known how to help her. I mean, I love the Native American community. There's a lot of struggle and a lot of pain and a lot of suffering, but there's also a lot of wonderment and spirituality, and a lot of them are Catholics and they love Jesus like nobody's business. Um, my daughter, well, both of my daughters are somewhat estranged from us, but my middle daughter intentionally was estranged from us and told us so that she didn't want anything to do with us. And I don't know, about 3 months ago, I texted her. I mean, I still had her number and it was still her number. And she said, Mom, I want to make peace. And so Terry and I have seen her a number of times, and she has a very hard time because she's not only been um, challenged by the white community, but she's also been challenged by the Native community who has not accepted children that are not of a certain blood amount. And when she was adopted by Terry, her original birth certificate was sealed. It's just recently been opened, but I had looked at this class before that reunification, but it feels more than ever that it's just the right time. And I'm grateful to God. And, so many of you, I know you, I love you guys. You're great. And I feel that I can be open in this community. And so that's why I'm here.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you all for doing that. It kind of gives us a little bit of focus as to why each of you felt called to join this group, and we move forward together. Keep all of those callings in mind.
Oh, so sorry.
During the opening meditation, we reflected on the places we call home. I now invite you to describe the place that came to mind. It can either be a place you currently live or a place you lived in the past, even if it was only for a short period of time. After you've had an opportunity to speak, invite another person in the group to share. So we're not always just going to go around the table. And we'll get into this a little bit later, but when you call on someone else, that person is free to speak, or if they feel like, no, at this point I want to pass and I can just call on somebody else. And after other people speak, they want to come back and add something they can. So, we'll be getting into the rules of the group in a bit here. So I'll begin with the place that comes to mind for me right away is the house that we moved into when I think I was 4 or 5. My parents owned that house for 61 years. So it was basically where I grew up. I have some memories of the place that we lived in Durand, where we were living with an elderly gentleman that wanted somebody to provide cooking and house cleaning and stuff. So we had free rent in exchange for my mom providing those services. But then when we got our own home, my mom started working out. So she was basically working most of the week. Monday she was off for a bit because that was laundry day. But what really stands out to me is Saturdays, because that was bread baking day. My mom made fantastic homemade bread that she learned from her mother. And we would mix up the flour and all the other ingredients and put it in a bowl and set it on top of the radiator. And every so often, I got to knead the dough, and then when it was ready, help make the loaves. But then that wonderful smell of homemade bread in the oven. And our supper every Saturday night was that first loaf of bread. We go through an entire loaf of bread for the 5 of us, with big bologna sandwiches. And it was an interesting home that changed over time, because when we first bought the house, the upstairs was a separate apartment. Initially, one of my dad's aunts and uncles was renting it, and then another family that we knew very well. But as the 3 of us kids grew, we needed more space because we were all sharing one bedroom. So we opened up the stairway, and the kids got our bedrooms upstairs. Then the bedroom my parents had was wall knockout and expanded the living room to make that bigger because it was a very small living room. Our back porch got insulated and closed and became the dining room. But a lot of memories from that house. And the one thing that really stands out is after my parents sold the house and we were moving them out, my sister and I went back to walk through just to make sure we didn't miss anything. As we were walking through, memories started coming back, but it was the strangest feeling seeing this totally empty house with everything that had been there for years. And leaving a very important part of our life behind. That is what immediately came to mind when we were asked to find a place that we called home. So Janet, do you want to share next?
Cry. Mine is very similar to yours. I moved into this farmhouse when I was like 4. And my parents owned that. Well, my dad is passed now. For over 60 years, we just moved my mom out in March to a little apartment. But all my memories are there too. It was hard, but a lot of laughs and a lot of fun. And 8 kids and crowded and loud. But yeah. Go ahead. I'm going down the line.
I think very similar. My parents are still alive. My mom is 87, my dad is 92. They moved into that house close to 60 years ago. So I was born and raised in that house. Now it's in northern Chicago, and so every time I was born, so we lived in that house, and then just continued. I went to school, but then was able to go home. Came out to Minnesota, and I live here, and just taking my kids back, we stay with the grandparents. So when I was thinking about it, I'm like, wow, it's been a long time. And just the memories that are in that house. And one of the memories, kind of going back to the food, is, and I was thinking about that this week, and I don't know, just every once in a while, sometimes it'll come in, but this week is specifically, just on Sundays, my grandparents lived with us. So we were like a 3 generation household. So my grandmother would always do the cooking, and she made being from an Italian family, so there was the spaghetti sauce, and so there was that smell in the house. And I can smell that smell to this day. And I just remember just just being sunny outside and that light coming into the house and the smells, and then just that feeling of safety that you feel when you're at home, and always being able to go back there. And at the same time, and very interesting. So as I was thinking about that, I was thinking about just living here in Minnesota now and being, because I've been here for 30 years, but this feels so much like home.
Well, good.
And I think to myself, wow, I'm pretty fortunate that I could have those two places feel like so much like home. Married.
Well, I have to say that I had a pretty rough childhood. So I don't really, I thought about my grandparents' house, but I thought about meeting Terry. I actually met Terry at Coon Lake. And after we'd been married, like, I don't know, 15 years or so, we moved to Coon Lake. And we lived in a little rambler on Coon Lake for like 37 years. And then, Terry's health is failing, and I've got all these back issues, and we're like, we're going to have to sell the house. And we had been planning for a number of years to sell the house. And anyway, as it turned out, a long story short, we ended up trading places with my son and daughter-in-law. So they owned a number of townhouses. And so we gave up the house and moved into a townhouse in Elk River. And the amazing thing about it is my son does architectural drawings for these big post and beam houses, those huge beams that come out of one tree. And he's just totally, I mean, that house is just beautiful. It's so beautiful. And when my son was a child, he loved that place so much. I always hoped that somehow we could keep it in the family, and God just stepped in and found a way. The thing I love, we can go back there. We don't live there, but we can go back there. But um, we always called that part of the lake Little Mini Lake Superior, because the wind is so strong and so loud, and it's amazing. It can be the hottest day of summer and it doesn't feel that way. Um, of course, there's all kinds of little critters and lots of leaves that make noise, and you know, fires at night, and all just the sweet comforts of nature. So, I'm gonna pick Kelly.
So I was picturing my childhood home where I lived from when I was a baby until I think about 14, and then we moved to the house where my parents live now. Well, my dad. And I could just picture being little, and I pictured the living room, the great green carpeting. This would sort of been the 70s, 80s. So green carpeting and the kitchen linoleum floor. And I think the people before us are smokers, so there's all these black holes in the kitchen floor. And when he asked about smells, first we used to have a dishwasher that you would pull over to the sink and connect it to the sink,
Oh,
and I can still smell the smell of the dishwasher running. So I just remember feeling loved and cared for, and accepted. You could be who you are, and unconditional love and support of family. So that's what I thought. That's how I would marry Jerry.
Wow. My life has been a little bit more disruptive because we moved around a lot. My dad was in the service, unfortunately killed in the Korean War. So then we came back to Minnesota. And then my mother remarried. So there's a lot of not feeling at home, although I felt very loved. Went into the convent. So that was a lot of chaos too. You're moving, you don't stay from one place to another, so you're moving around. So what came to me was the home that I'm in now, which is on a lake in Coon Rapids. And so I think just being able to get up in the morning and to feel that sense of that land, of that lake, of that presence. Now, our children have, grown up there. We made our life there when I married. So that's where I really feel home, and that's where, I can meditate. I mean, I really feel God's presence. So that's what makes me feel home. I've had people come in, different discussion groups, so there's always been filled with a lot of love in that home. And so I think with all the other moving around, I needed to be planted, and was very fortunate that through my husband and through these three boys that, and continue to be planted, but they make me feel at home. And I think they feel at home. Interesting, they're not interested in the house. So that they want to be in the city where the action is. They don't want to be out in Coon Rapids. So it's like, nah, we don't need the house. So I will stay there because my husband built the house actually with another guy. It was a cabin. So it's now a house. And it's one level, so it's all handicap accessible. So I can stay there until I feel like I can't connect. Once I feel I can't connect with people, then I would move. But so I'm very fortunate that really has been a home for me after all this moving around and that. So that's home free. Well, Mike, I think you're laughing.
I thought of so many homes that I've been in. I once had a contest with a priest about who's moved more in their lives, and the priest won, of course, but it was I gave him a good run. And so I grew up in Brooklyn Center and had moved out to Corcoran, and then had lived in Chicago and then New Jersey, and then started a lay ecclesial career up in North Dakota and Crookston and St. Cloud, and just so always feeling very at home. But the place that I thought, all my homes, I guess I felt comfortable in all the homes. But the place I thought of for some reason was, I lived in it not too much, but it was the McNeil Farm, private McNeil Farm place in Dayton, Minnesota. And I thought of the land, the house was there, Christmases with a lot of family members, grandparents and stuff. But I think maybe just because it's been there my entire life and I still get back there every so often. But I thought of the land, and what's interesting about the land is there was some river property on it, but the land oozes with clay, and there's a lot of aquifers or something, whatever. It can be dead of summer, and there'll be a mud patch in different places. And in the winter, sometimes there'll be these glacial ice sheets because the water's flowing and freezing. And so, but the land is very, has a lot of, at certain times had trees in it, other times not. Depends if there were horses or cows that would be pastured. But it's the land that I thought of. And maybe just because it was since my earliest memories, and it's still been a constant in my life, I guess. I lived there probably most often, longest and most intensely probably was when my parents were battling some serious illnesses. But I thought about, it's the land that in the smells and what the smell of rotting vegetation or whatever, or else wetland, and just not so much the house, but the land. And I guess my favorite vivid memory would be a little kid walking to the Crow River, and my dad would say, "See this stick? Yeah, Dad." Goes in there. See how fast that's going down the river? That'd be you if you fell in. Don't even get close to this river. So up until I'd say my 40s, I was terrified of the river. And then years ago, I did take a canoe trip, a 5-day canoe trip from Forest City to the Mississippi through that, to the family farm. It was like the first time I'd ever been on that river. And the whole time I would say it was like hitchhiking to California. Real exciting, probably a little more dangerous than you really should be doing it. But those are my memories of that stick floating, being rushed down the rapids on the Crow River. That could be me.
thank you all for sharing those memories and gives us a sense of what home means to each of us. And sometimes it's long-term in a place, sometimes short-term. And certainly been the experience of the Native community as they were sometimes moving with the seasons to where growing lands were, or where the wildlife were for food and other sustenance, things that they needed. People who, by occupation, military, my wife's dad was a Methodist minister, and they tended to move their ministers every 6 years. Every 6 years, their family was in another parsonage. But it gives us a sense of what home really means to us, and that's what we want to focus on in this session. What home means to the Native people, how they've been deprived of some of those opportunities that we may have been able to experience. So we'll take a short break now, and one of the things that they recommend is that we do a break in the middle of each of these 2-hour sessions and share refreshments. Mary Jo happened to bring some, so if anybody wants a little more of that, or I'll take a piece as well, since I haven't had one yet. And if we want to continue having some type of refreshment of some sort, if people want to sign up for who's going to bring something to which session, and gives us a little break during some of these sessions that are going to get pretty intense.
As we talk about marching the Native Americans onto their reservations out of wherever. I mean, it's a tough, well, even with Red Lake too, how many people who left the reservation did much better than those who stayed on the reservation. I mean, that's sad, to see what's going on there and the kids, and, that they do so well and then they get into the public school. And
I think the student that I had, I think they were from the Red Lake, and if I'm remembering correctly, and this was maybe 5 years ago. And they were only at my school for not a full school year. I can't remember if they went back to the reservation or what. I'm not sure. I know one had behavior, he was a 3rd grader and he had behavior struggles. But so it'll be helpful to learn more about background on the struggles that they faced.
I think when I was doing the art, I think we had maybe 45 minutes. I had 3 different projects within 45 minutes. I mean, because the attention span, well, for some of the kids, I mean, it was just really hard. And of course, it's hard, what's their area of interest? Here I am coming in and it's like, who is she? Because then they say to us, well, how come these old people are coming? Because the kids would always go up there. We were the only adult group, and it's like, where are the kids? I mean, it's like, we're just not these old people. But we did have good art, and we had good art classes. Well, I mean, that's what they like. This summer, they wanted something different. And the kids are really responsive, though. I mean, I did not have a lot of issues, but but they chose to be there. I mean, I'm sure other kids showed, but they were the ones going to the school too. So they were actually part of the school on that. So. Well, we were fortunate. We'd gone to church down at the Native American church. Have you ever been down there for that? I think at that time they had the rug on the floor, and so they had the altar was on the skin, the animal skin, and then I think when Archbishop Geinstead came in, he wanted them to have it on the altar, but they do the smudging kind of thing. So I would say smudging.
What's smudging?
It's making mostly sage, and it's like a penance kind of thing, clearing, what's going on in their life and that.
They burn it?
Yes, if they burn it, I'm sorry, and then they block a pew, and then it's like with the incense. It's random.
Right.
It's
Okay.
just
So when I've
What
seen,
we
I
need
didn't know
to
it
do
had
is
a
go
name.
like this with
Yeah,
the
that's
incense. I mean, that's what I did the last, because I mean, that it's sort of accepting
Yeah.
what's going on. I use Palo Santo. I'll bring that in sometime. Because to me, it's a little bit,
We use holy water. When you walk in the churches and different.
Yeah.
A lot of times when they start their ceremonies, they will start smudging, which is, the sage is burning in a way a little in anything, like from a shell to a pan, literally a cast iron skillet oftentimes.
but I've got some sage too. I'll bring them both. in.
Yeah, and at Catholic, I work at Catholic Charity, so we have smudge kits. I have not.
You've never smudged?
Yeah, smudge kits, because we work with a lot of different individuals from different backgrounds. So there could be somebody who, they would want that.
Mhm.
So I haven't asked for it because I don't really understand it all that much or no, but that would be,
What's in the kit? Just.
well, now I was
Now you've
thinking,
got
I'm gonna
one.
ask, I'm gonna actually, so that's gonna be my homework, is to kind of see what, because I've seen the signs for it that we have up. So for individuals, any staff, because it's mainly in the staff areas, but then too, if we encounter any clients that come through, then we can provide that if we want that.
It's interesting because even down in the Southwest, they'll do different ceremonies for, different parts of the year.
The seasons.
The seasons and that, and they will smudge. A lot of the group that I would go to that would do drumming, they would, also call in the 4 directions.
Oh,
And that's another big thing that they do. So we've done a lot of, 4 directions. My husband built a labyrinth on some property, his home property, and then we did a smudging with that and calling in the directions. But, so I mean, there's a lot of spirituality out there that we could use. I mean, there's nothing that's saying that we couldn't do smudging sometime at the church here. I mean, I'm just saying is that just to get that sense of we're part of this community and they were a part of Dr. Drexel.
Mhm.
So anyway, I thought.
Well, and just how much there is to learn from other cultures like the Native American culture and how that can help us in our own spirituality
Right.
within Catholicism and that. I mean, because we are all one.
Right. Well, and the thing is that they're so earthbound. I mean, I think that's what I've learned so much, the appreciation. The other day, I tend to use my elliptical and then do some reading of Father Richard Rohr. Through this bunny is sitting out there the whole time looking at me, because I have my windows open to look at the lake. He sat there the whole time and I'm looking at him, he's looking at me. Just stood there and I think he decided I needed more help.
Yeah.
Put it in for him. So no, we're gonna do this on what, Saturday?
Yeah, so it'll be the 2nd and 4th Saturday each month.
Okay.
We can stick to the 10 to 12 noon time, or if people want to start earlier, go 9 to 11,
I
or
would
6 to
start
8,
earlier.
or
It looks like.
You'll be here at 6:30 a.m.
No.
Yeah, so what's the?
I can look, that's right, look at my date.
I jumped on next week real quick.
You're 2 weeks.
Well, it's 2 weeks, yeah, it was in May.
Aren't you?
It said May 2nd. and what's the-
What, we're gonna do May 2nd.
the 2nd and 4th
Saturday.
Saturdays.
The 6th one is
But
July
then-
4th, so I'm sure we're not gonna do it.
We're not gonna.
No,
We should have dates
it's
on
not every 2 weeks. It's the 2nd Saturday of the month and the 4th Saturday.
Okay.
So
Okay, that's-
July, it's the
Okay,
11th
so
and
9th.
25th.
All right, well,
Then
I'll
what
put
did I
the
send
date.
it for? I thought I sent it for May 2nd. No.
But you're
May 9th.
May 9th.
May
and May
9th,
4th.
okay, 9th.
So then I'm on
May
May
9th.
23rd.
Oh, good. Nobody-
23.
Let me correct that.
So Mary Jo is the 23rd.
Thank you. Yeah, there's-
Janet will be June 13th. And John is the 27th.
June 27th.
Well, the 23rd, that's over Memorial Weekend. I'm not here.
Okay,
So give somebody else a.
Oh,
and so I'll put you on 6th.
Memorial Weekend is really early this year.
Yeah, it is.
So we would be
Oh,
better,
look at-
but we can't do, well,
That is-
Oh, I can't do Memorial Day weekend because Mateo's graduating.
well, and I can't do
No,
either.
we would
You have
not want
chairs
to
to set up.
be-
I had to actually be at the graduation.
So should
Oh,
we finish the
nice.
23rd
Is
to
that
a
the same
different
house?
Yeah.
date?
read them. On the graduation.
I've been invited to one door.
I
I don't
think-
think I'm gonna make that either.
I'm sorry, I left the room. What are you guys talking about, dates?
We're talking about bringing treats.
Treats
Oh,
and dates.
You
treats.
gotta, so if you don't come, then you don't have to bring a treat.
Just show
Oh,
a
I'm-
picture.
Yeah, I'm gonna come.
Okay,
Okay.
so we can't do May 23rd. So do we want to do
Yeah, let's move that one to the 30th.
the 30th? Okay, then I'll do the 30th.
What are we doing? I'm sorry.
Bringing treats. Mary, do you want to bring them on July 25th?
July 25th, Mary. Can you bring a treat? I mean, we'll be adaptable. It's like,
Well, and that date is somewhat flexible because it's between the 6th and the 7th session that we do our immersion.
Oh.
So, and we'll discuss that when we get more into it, but we may want more time
Yeah.
to do everything that we intend to do. Yeah, so let's move that to the 30th.
We'll make a copy of this.
Yeah.
How's that?
Well, I'll send it out.
Oh, okay.
it'd be nice so we know them when we're on and when.
So Mary, should I just put you down for July 25th for now, and then we can adjust it for you?
Sorry. So it's the second and fourth. Would anybody be adverse to moving to 9? I mean, 10, it's just like 10 to me, that's like,
I'm not a morning person, so I'm like, oh, I kind of like 10 o'clock,
okay,
but I could
mean,
adjust
can
it out,
adjust.
especially when summer comes, because right now I
Easier.
can get up early every day, and Saturday's my one day where I can sleep in a little bit. But it's fine, to 9 o'clock isn't that.
9 is good. with me.
I had picked 10, knowing that Vivian was gonna be in California until sometime in May, so that she didn't have to start at 7 if we did 9 here. But yeah, 9 to 11 works better for people.
Well, we can try, we can always adjust and go to 9:30 if you can't wake up. Yeah, I
I'm awake, I just
She'll be
like
like
to
Zoom, and then she'll be like. Well, I'll
So-
check with her, because I think May 9th, they're still in California.
And actually Kate would. She teaches, yeah, but she's off in the summer, so she doesn't
Yeah,
care.
yeah.
She can sleep any other day.
Right, I'll just sleep in the rest of the days.
Right.
So Randy, are you gonna update the calendar then when, I don't know what you're all discussing there.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, I'll check with Vivian, and if she would prefer us to keep it 10 o'clock till she gets back, because of the time difference from California. May 9th, we would still do the 10 to noon. But if everybody is okay with moving it to 9 to 11, then the second Saturday in May, which is now the 30th of May, we can change the time then. And Vivian says she's fine with starting at 7 California time, then we can.
start at 6.
I'm good with 9, I don't know, 6.
No, I'm just saying because of the time change, because you're
Oh,
worried about
right,
Vivian
right.
starting at 7.
Oh,
I
sure.
I started at 6. Okay. And Vivian could be adaptable. I think that, I know her, she's open enough, but it's whatever she wants. I'm adaptable too.
There's one grade you teach.
K-5.
Okay.
In what school?
Evergreen Park Elementary and Brooklyn Center.
Okay. Nice.
It's a part of the Anoka Head of Campus, but
Okay.
it's made out there.
Okay, so what we're gonna do next is have what Just Faith refers to as holy conversations. And holy conversation is more than a discussion, it is an act of celebration and worship in which Through seeking to know and understand one another, we experience the divine presence. Every one of us is created in God's image, and for this reason, when we truly see one another, we see a glimpse of God. It is an incomplete and imperfect glimpse, but it is a glimpse nonetheless. It is for this reason that we enter into conversation with the same reverence as if we were entering into a time of worship. So they give us some guidelines to guide our time together and respect for each other. Get that up
That's it,
here.
That's it.
I think they say that so that people listen to each other and respect each other, because, I mean, it's a strange way of saying it. I mean, because, I mean, you're at liturgy, I mean, it's like kind of an odd way of how they perfect. I mean, I don't think any of us are gonna, I mean, we all have different ideas, so I think that.
Yeah, I think they're trying not to think that everybody's coming at it from a different place.
Right.
And just make sure that find that common ground. A lot of times when I do trainings, what might seem like, well, of course, but sometimes the environment and the world we live in the past number of years, you know what?
And it's language that they use sometimes. I mean, you know, if I respect people, then I will always hold that sacred space with each other.
All right, Mary, are you seeing these?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, bigger.
All right. So we'll just go around the room and each of you can read one of these. So Mary, start with you. Which one?
Are you talking to me? I'm sorry, it's hard to hear.
That what?
It's hard to hear.
Can you read the first one, Mary? Read the first line.
I'll try to. It's targets. Okay. It is your right, your birthright,
Oh, no, I must be sharing the wrong one.
That's good.
So let me get back here.
The window is outlined, but
let me see.
Is she farther up on the
Can
screen?
you see the one where it says give and receive welcome?
No,
Okay. Like that.
yeah, the scroll bar isn't working.
like, oh,
I don't know what-
we got 22 pages to read.
I don't see anything.
I stopped because I think it was sharing the wrong page on there.
Okay. You know, it's rough when everybody's looking right at you.
We're admiring your beauty.
Oh, yeah.
All right, now do you see something that says give and receive welcome?
Yes.
Yeah, so if you can read that one, and we'll just go around the table from you to Mike and then around everybody. Read the next one.
Give and receive welcome. People learn best in hospitable spaces. In the community, we support each other's learning by giving and receiving welcome.
Be as fully present as possible. Be here with your doubts, fears, and failings, as well as your convictions, joys, and successes. You're listening as well as you're speaking. Listen intently in order to fully understand different points of view. Honor the space between no longer and not yet.
What is offered in our community is by invitation, not demand. Share what your soul calls for and know that you do it with our support. Commit to ensuring that everyone has an opportunity to speak. Invite others to speak before speaking again.
Speak your truth in ways that respect other people's truth. Our views of reality may differ, but speaking one's truth in our community does not mean interrupting, correcting, or debating what others say. Knowing that we are each created uniquely and have different backgrounds, experiences, and views, we commit to honoring differences, knowing they add to the richness of the community's experience.
No fixing, saving, and advising or correcting. This is one of the hardest guidelines for those of us who like to help, but it is vital to welcoming the soul, to making space for the inner teacher.
Learn to respond to others with honest, open questions instead of counsel or correction. With such questions, we help hear each other into deeper speech. Commit to respectfully seeking clarification of others' perspectives to add to our own understanding.
When going gets tough, turn to wonder. If you feel judgmental or defensive, ask yourself, I wonder what brought her to this belief. I wonder what he's feeling right now. I wonder what my reaction teaches me about myself. Set aside judgment to listen to others and to yourself more deeply.
Attend to your own.
Oh, Mary's turn.
Attend to your own inner teacher. We learn from others, of course. But as we explore prayer, readings, questions, and silence, as well as engage with people both inside and outside our community, we have a special opportunity to learn from within. So pay close attention to your own reactions and responses, which are your most important teacher.
Trust and learn from the silence. Silence is a gift in our noisy world and a way of knowing in itself. Treat silence as a member of the group. After someone has spoken, take time to reflect without immediately filling the space with words.
Observe deep confidentiality. Our community of trust depends on knowing that whatever we say will remain with the people to whom we choose to say it. Whether in small groups or in the large circle, we will never be passed on to others. We will never pass on to others what are explicit without explicit permission.
This is a brave space. We will hear hard stories, have tough conversations, and wrestle with our own biases and assumptions. We embrace both the boldness and the risk of this community.
We are all learners. There are no instructors here. Do not expect those most affected by injustice to teach the rest of the group, or answer first, or speak on behalf of an entire community or demographic. For example, people of color should not be expected to teach white participants about race.
Notice the log in your own eye rather than the speck in your neighbor's. It is easier to talk about a misguided politician, closed-minded family member, or ignorant coworker than it is to do the deep spiritual work of recognizing our own part in unjust systems and imagining ways to seek accountability, repair, and healing.
Know that it's possible to leave a meeting of our community with whatever it was you needed when you arrived. And that the seeds planted here can keep growing in the days ahead. Okay. Anything that anybody feels we should add to those guidelines?
Pretty inclusive. This is going to involve a lot of listening. And the idea of most Just Faith programs is that we go through small group sessions like this to educate ourselves, but several of them, and this is one that includes an immersion project. So it's like, okay, take what you've learned so far and let's go into the real world, out of the classroom. And then the final session is, all right, where do we go from here? So it's not like, okay, session 8 done, that was fine, let's go back to our life. It's what can we as individuals, what can we as a group, or what can we call our parish to do as far as moving forward on some of the things that we've learned. So for our immersion project, which comes after, I think it's after session 6, between 6 and 7, we will visit, and the immersion project, you're invited to participate in all or some of it, so that everybody doesn't have to do the 3 things that we'll do. But we'll go up north during that week after July 11th, probably, and spend probably a couple days in Red Lake Reservation, which is a closed reservation, which is one of the only 3 closed reservations in the country, which means basically the tribe owns everything, and it's tribal members that live on the reservation. Like in Red Lake, white people are not allowed to live there permanently. So Mike had to leave his whiteness at the reservation border when he moved in. So they do allow like people on the St. Mary's Mission, because for a number of years that was Benedictines that staffed the school and the parish, St. John, St. Ben, but now the diocese has taken that over. I guess there's Catholic sisters coming up there now in full habit to help.
Has that been announced?
Well, that's what Sue's telling me, so I don't know.
Yeah. When Bishop Cousins was the auxiliary bishop in the Twin Cities, was named the Bishop of Kirkland, he helped start a group that's called the Companions of Christ, which is kind of a community of diocesan priests. And I think that originated in the Archdiocese of Denver. And that's where he had grown up. So he asked, they have an extreme shortage of priests in the Crookston Diocese. And it's getting to be that way in most dioceses and even in the Archdiocese, which we'll be hearing a little bit more about shortly. But I think Holy Rosary in Detroit Lakes is the only parish left in the entire Crookston Diocese that is a parish by itself. All the other ones have 2 or 3, and I think in one case even 4 parishes. So Bishop Cousins had asked Archbishop Hevda if he would share some priests with the Crookston Diocese. And eventually they sent 3 members of the Companions of Christ to Bemidji. And they take care of St. Philip's in Bemidji and one of the neighboring parishes in the Newman Center of Bemidji State. And one of the priests that is now the pastor at St. Mary's Mission, but they all live at the rectory and at St. Philip's. And they're the ones I think that are bringing in that religious order that they are.
There's other ways to solve it, but we won't go there.
You, what did Sue say that they are going?
They're coming because she's not retiring, she said, until they get settled in, so that's what she said to me.
Until they get settled in?
So whatever that
sounds like,
means.
because,
Could that be, but I mean, because Sue's trying to retire.
well, the reason I ask is because a community, I had heard it from somebody that it was the Sisters of Charity, Mother Teresa's sisters, were coming to look at St. Mary's Mission in the Red Lake community.
Just to look.
Well, that was my question, but then if Sue is preparing for their coming, then things have moved on. And what they decided after they came to look, and it sounds like they said yes. Now, that's all I've heard. I mean, I'm hearing from you that she's preparing for their arrival. They have already looked. I mean, they had come a while back, but then, now I don't know. Could be another religious community for all because we're talking here. I just know the school system, the Sisters of Charity had come for a look, and you're saying Sue is preparing for a religious community.
Because she had mentioned India as part of it.
What?
I mean, she mentioned 3 different places they were coming from. One was India, but we don't.
So we'll spend some time at Red Lake.
And that's when on the week around the 7th.
Well, session 6 is July 11th.
Okay.
So
Sometime after.
between that date and if we keep session 7 is the second, maybe what, the 25th of July, we do these immersion things during that 2-week period, and we want a little bit more time to do it, then we'll adjust the dates for the last 2 sets. But it probably would make the most sense, given the distance, to try to do Red Lake and White Earth back to back rather than come at a separate time. But again, if people want to be part of one of those, they can come for the days that will be at one of the reservations and then come back and whatever. So the White Earth Reservation is not a closed reservation. And there is a lot of land disputes because there was questions on the legality of some of the sales of land that the natives owned that were sold, whether they really have a clear title or not. And there, some of you may have heard of Winona LaDuke. She was actually the vice presidential candidate with
Ralph Nader.
Yeah, the environment guy.
Ralph Nader. Ralph Nader.
Yeah. For 2 different presidential elections. But she has started something called the White Earth Land Recovery Project, trying to reclaim the land that was most likely sold illegally. So we will try to set up while we're in Whitehurst, meeting with her, and just to hear the stories behind what really happened there and the efforts that she's putting in to try to get the tribal lands back.
I think there's mining issues up there too now that they're dealing with the Native Americans, that they're trying to avoid getting the mining going on back up there
Yeah.
again. So that she might be able to deal with that too.
But we will set up meetings with various people to get a good sense of what's going on in the two different reservations, and especially the things that vary between a closed reservation, unique to Red Lake, and open reservation, Whitehurst. And then the other part of our immersion project is, since so many people have moved off the reservation, is one of the things that they encounter, the incentive to stay on the reservation is housing. And housing is provided, healthcare. Indian Health Services provides free medical care, and some other service types things, but very limited employment opportunities, which is why there's such a high unemployment rate on the reservations. And which leads to some other problems. Red Lake has a problem with gangs, drugs and alcoholism are big problems. And the suicide rate is very high, especially in Red Lake. But in the metro area, the various programs and services that are being provided for those that have moved from the reservation into the metro area, primarily because of employment opportunities, just to see what's being offered here. So those will be our immersion projects, this metro area, Red Lake, and Whitehurst. And again, people in the group can participate in all three or whichever ones work for your schedule and whatever.
So we're gonna do all three of those between session 6 and 7.
Yeah. So that's why, depending upon how we need to schedule them, we may move session 7 back. Any questions on that? Okay.
And you're thinking of like going over a weekend or something, or, have you got thoughts of, because I've got things during the week that I would have to then rearrange. So I'm just saying that because we're still looking in July sometime, but still.
I need to get in contact with people to see what their availability is. So I think one of the ones in Red Lake is I'd like to meet with the chairman of the tribal council. And if he's available only at certain times or whatever, and the same thing with the Duke. Those are the two that I think will kind of determine exactly when we go, is when their availability is, and then we can fill in with meeting with other program services or individuals or whatever. Specific ones that I want to get set up. And that would be something to look at if weekends would work better for people, or some of the services in the metro area might have to be during the week if they're not open on weekends.
I'm open during the week. I could work around things. So it's just, when you're going away for a couple of days, that's.
It's probably not
I-
something I would bring on Ronnie too, right? But I could see if a friend or my sister or somebody from mine could stay with them. If my son could come, like it would probably be, maybe it would work out for him to come with us, but I could find somebody.
Does he
I was gonna say-
Does he get with adults talking?
Yes.
I
Most of
would,
My friend, kids are already older and grown. It's like whenever I get together, like I bring Armani, he's like, I have to sit here with these old ladies talking.
How old is he?
He's 10.
How about bringing a dog?
You can assure him they will have many years, but they'll have many, many more words.
Yes.
Mary, you had something you were saying?
yes, I'd love to participate in that weekend, but I have a doctor appointment on the 13th of July that I cannot reschedule. It's like takes 6 months to get an appointment with this person.
Yeah.
So that's my only conflict.
Well,
So I'll get a hold of those two specific people that I want to set up at Red Lake and White Earth and to see what their availability is after July 11th. And then we can plan those dates around their availability and what works with members of the group that want to
I don't,
participate.
you know, a 10-year-old, I mean, I got a 10-year-old granddaughter I would bring.
Okay.
I mean, I that's what I'm saying as part of the group, because I just think it could be a real learning
Yeah.
experience for him. So, because it gets to be crazy trying to find somebody.
Uh-huh.
I mean, unless he doesn't want to come. I mean, that's a different story. I
I
know.
think it may be interesting for him.
Okay. So as far as the future sessions, for those of you that have already registered, there was a participant packet that you can download the PDF that's got the material for each of the sessions plus some homework, which there is some homework. I've been here before the next session.
Did you set that set someplace? I mean, what's
It's
the
on the Just Faith website.
On the
You have
Just
to
Faith.
there's a place where you click to
Yeah,
download it.
but I'll send the registration
Okay, good.
information sheet to those of you that haven't registered yet, because there's a code in there that gets you into the right group, because our group is what's referred to as a private group. So it's like, you need to have that code in order to join the group. And it's the same code as the coupon to pay for the registration, which covers the material. They do have two books that are available that they recommend that you buy. These are not required. One is a compilation of various native poetry and takes an interesting approach of movement. So poetry that is with the rising of the sun, so the east, and then the midpoint, so the Midwest, and then the sunset with poetry that reflects more.
Those are online.
Yeah, so when you do the registration, it shows these other books as options, which.
And I've read that second one, and that's a tough one, but it's a good book. But it's, yes.
Yeah, and a lot of the material that's in these 8 sessions is from Sarah Augustine. And she's the one that wrote this book that really covers what kind of overview of what this whole program is going to be all about. But those are not covered by the coupon, so we can reimburse you from that grant. I think there's enough money available to do that. So-
They're also on, you can get them through the library, because that's where I got mine. I mean, that's where I read mine. I never bought the book. So, I mean, you can get them. Thank God. The one is, I didn't about the other one, but I know that for sure. I got it through a library. I never bought the book.
But they recommend that you bring the packet, so you got it on the computer, on your phone. Phone, tablet, iPad, whatever, bring that. Or you want to do it the old fashioned way, print it out and bring the paper. I don't know how much we'll be using any of these books during the session, but if there is something that we want to refer to in it. So do we have those? In the packet is attachment. The page here. Attachment C called Land Acknowledgement Research Activity. So this is something that you will be doing between now and our next session on May 9th. And the introduction to it is, in session 2, you'll begin creating a land acknowledgement to honor the original people who lived on the land on which you currently reside. This activity will merely guide you in creating a first draft. You can amend and augment your land acknowledgement as you learn more about the Indigenous community you seek to acknowledge. And optionally, you would like preview to the land acknowledgement activity in which your group will participate during session 2, turn to session 2, attachment B. The Doctrine of Discovery, which is an organization that has a big part in what we're going to be looking at here, is looking at the idea that those who came from Europe and settled the land, they discovered the land. Well, they didn't discover it. The land was here and there were people already living on the land. But those people coming in as explorers or whatever early on claimed the land. And that's what eventually drove a lot of the native people from their land and eventually with the various treaties onto reservations. But even within the native communities, in fact, one of the first patients that Nancy had is through the public health nurse before she became the director up in Detroit Lakes. So she worked on the reservation, was an elderly member of the Whiters Nation, who talked about how they drove the Sioux out of their territory and into the Dakotas. So even among the native communities, there was some land disputes. And it was the same thing here in the metro area, which there were various tribes that settled in this area, and there was some battles among them.
I think it said that book too, that, they had treaty, but because of the time it took to get the treaty to DC, and then everybody, the white came and said, well, there's no treaty here. I mean, there's no, acknowledgement, so therefore it's ours. Well, then it was too late because then they bought it up. That book, I mean, it's a little bit,
Yeah.
it's like, but it's a good book. Oh my God.
And so the Doctrine of Discovery seeks to erase indigenous communities and their history. Therefore, it can be difficult to find the seemingly basic information called for in this activity. In many instances, confusion, uncertainty, and a sense of inadequacy may even be a necessary part of your learning experience. Do the best you can, knowing that perfection is neither the goal nor possible. You can continue to explore your research questions during and after the program.
Do we know whose property, but Native American is for this, the property where the church is on? Do we have any acknowledgement of that?
We don't, I know a number of years ago, I read about the various tribes that were in the area, and I don't remember.
And like Catholic Charities has a land acknowledgement, St. Thomas has a land
Right.
acknowledgement, so,
Guthrie.
and I think I think there's somebody in the Archdiocese who could help us with that. I can get that name too, and you might even know who that might be.
I think, I would think it would be Lakota would be my guess, but the reason why I say that is just because the Ojibwe came from Wisconsin and the northern push. So,
Find out, yeah. I'd like to know who's on the land that I have.
So so would we be writing one for St. Catherine Drexel? I mean, is that something, or?
Or are we each writing it
Are we
for
just
our own home,
yeah.
wherever?
But it would be nice to do it for the church too,
Yeah.
because then to have
Yeah.
that acknowledgement. Because I know every time you go to the Guthrie, they mention, they
Right.
say, this is, we want you to know that this is the property, we acknowledge the people who've been on this property, which is at least the first step.
Website here that
native land, did you?
Yeah, so this tells us the nations that lived here, the languages they spoke, what treaty dealt with us.
And all that, but you just looked it up under national or native land digital, or is that part of the whole
No, they've got a link
in the
in the
program?
instructions in that appendix for the next session. That link
Okay.
is in there. So you want to put in your own address,
Okay.
which might not be a whole lot different from your same area, but they've got several links in here, and I would recommend that you look at some of those. This gives you some additional background information and more detail. And spend time reading the ones that kind of appeal to you. So any questions on anything we talked about today or what's going to happen moving forward?
Yeah, when those sisters moving
Well, I'm sure Sue will let me know.
in. Oh, someone's knocking on the door.
Yes. Are you done?
So look at that appendix in your packet and start working on your homework. And
May 9th.
May 9th. So let's move into our closing prayer. As we enter into our closing meditation, take a moment to silently rest in the presence of God, who is our home and our dwelling place. And again from Psalm 90, Lord, you have been our dwelling place throughout all generations. Before the mountains were born, we brought forth the whole world. From everlasting to everlasting, you are God. God, who is our dwelling place. Bless the places we call home and bless our memories there. Bless the creaking floors. Bless the doors that don't close just right. Bless the bugs who made their way inside. Bless the kitchen table. Bless the laughter we share. Bless our morning cup of coffee. Bless the late night paying of the bills. Bless the names of those who shared home with us. Bless our siblings and parents, and the occasional pesky primos or aunties. Bless our friends who came for cookies and confectio. Bless the guests and strangers who we knew but for a moment. Bless the neighborhoods and apartment buildings that hold us. Bless the gaggle of children who wander in and out. Bless those next door who console us when we are down. Bless those across the street who got sick and died. Bless the birds that sing around us, often unnoticed. Bless the bees that pollinate our flower beds. Bless the tomato plants that give the best treat of the summer. Bless the trees that share shade and calm and the sound of wind. Be home to us, greater God, especially when we are far away, whether in place or time. From the places we belong, we rest in you, our dwelling place, and give our hearts overflow of thanks for the places we call home. Amen.
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 Thank you.
And is there anything in this coming week that you want us to be praying for in your own lives?
Oh, my sister is in memory care, so that, and she's just been there for a couple of weeks, so that's really been a struggle for her. And I would also like people to remember Colleen Whaling, who still is a member of the parish, although she doesn't. Her two sons are really struggling with health issues, so we want to make sure that we keep those boys in mind. They're older boys, but still they have challenging health issues.
Same issues? Or different?
No, one's looking at a foot amputation, the other one has colon cancer.
I would add Joanne Gerlach, she's moving, I believe, this week. There's a lot of stress in her life. She'll be moving out to Hopkins, Minnetonka area.
Oh, so
Who's that?
Will she be attending masters still, do you think?
I don't think so. No,
Right, that's
no,
pretty
it's-
far.
Is
it's
that
this-
Joanne?
Yeah, Joanne Gerlach, yeah, because she's moving closer to her son. Yeah, closer to her son. So she's, yeah, so she's, last I saw her, she was boxing things up quite a bit, so.
Keep in mind, my mom, who has stage 4 breast cancer and has been dealing with that, she continues to deal with it and has the most positive attitude, but it's hard.
And ask that you can keep Nancy's brother, John, and his wife Mary in prayers. Son committed suicide a month ago. So, well, we struggled with that for a while. Really, it's in all distress. Dealing with it in different ways.
How old is he?
20. All of our family. Troy is also really struggling with that. Both sides.
That's that's a whole different group, isn't it?
So as we close, we are disciples on a journey. We are the body of Christ broken for the world. We hold one another as we carry the concerns of our neighbors. We pray also for the members of the Just Faith community across the country. Unite us through the power of your Holy Spirit, that together we might participate with you in the building of your kingdom in order to create a more just and peaceful world. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your participation.
Thank you.
If you hear of anybody else that would like to join our group, get in touch with me. I will send out the sign-up sheet here for snacks and as well as registration stuff. Be sure you use the code in that for both the registration group and for the coupon that they.
Those are all the power animals that the Native Americans would use. That's right. Yeah,
That
it was
must
the
be impressive.
grandfather. Yeah,
Impressive.
it is, isn't it? Wasn't the same guy who I made but they're online.
Let's say they're North Dakota or.
No, it just says that they call it the seven grandfather teaching.
Mhm.
But I mean, there's people that are down in Southwest that are with shamans, so we do a lot of shaman journeys. And so then you find your power animal and all this stuff.